This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
Hello, this is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. Don't text the show, please. We're not live and it'll be futile. However, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio, or indeed you can email us through the Absolute Radio website. Them's your options. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Hi, boys.
You out there? Please don't delay like that. I thought I was talking to myself. I can't. Please, readers, please appreciate that I can't see Emily and Alan. We're having to do this remotely because of a global pandemic. So it's always lovely to hear their voices.
I like the fact that you said a global pandemic as if there's several going on at once, but one of them
could
has
be.
kiboshed this show.
I heard there was a new pig-based one. On the back burner, if I may say, not to offend any vegetarians. Yeah, there's a pig one ready to go.
Is there?
So,
do you remember the old swine flu? Those were the halcyon days.
See, those was in the glory days when we were threatened with the avians, the swines, the SARS, and they never seemed to reach Western Europe. It's been quite a.
That was back when people just sensibly ignored most of the modelling, wasn't it? Controversial.
I don't really know what modelling is. I would have gone with it, but the only modelling I know.
We don't want to go down that road. It sounds potentially late night podcast.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Can you have a late night podcast? Surely
I think you can have
podcasts destroy the continuum, don't
I think
they?
you have some podcasts which have the energy of a late night podcast.
Oh, I see.
Men in a dark room.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good point. Speaking of, I get flies in my room. And yes.
I think the joke's a different structure, just so you're aware.
I think it's wait till there's a fly in my soup.
Yeah.
No. I get there's fly. I think one talks about flies in the house as if there's only one kind of fly, and there's several. Yeah. There's the fly that comes with the sound effect, and the classic, blue bottle with with a blue body. But there's little flies I get. Yeah.
Fly's body. Showing off their curves.
My manager spent the greater part of he was an academic, a geneticist. He's not my dad, his dad, my manager's dad. And he spent the greater part of his academic career studying the hairs on the legs of houseflies.
Wow.
Anyway, so there's certain flies.
He wants to do mine next.
If any of our readers
after lockdown, that'll be a year's work.
I suggest the old deforestation napalm thing.
I got a tree fella in next week.
Tree fellas, remember that joke? I can't do that now. So there's a certain type of fly that I've found, and they huddle. They get in groups of about 4 and they'll fly, and then one will suddenly chase the other with tremendous gusto. And then they calm down and carry on flying. And then another one, I don't know if it's another one, it might be the same one chasing the same one. Are you aware of this phenomenon?
I think they might be youths. Do you think they're youths?
Oh, you think they are?
Plain pig.
Well, it's like the youths hanging around the wall in the country. Drinking cider. That's what they're doing, right? Looking for trouble.
I suppose that is, and occasionally they go and chase each other, like you see youths sort of wrestle sometimes when they're in a group.
Yeah.
Like that. I love it. Don't you love it when flies come with a narrative rather than just be?
I totally agree with you regarding the different types of fly.
Oh, yes, some of them I'm happy to have in as cohabitants.
Yeah.
Well, the fruit flies, I mean, they're sort of... Yeah. They're quiet types. They keep themselves to themselves.
Yeah, low profile.
Bookish, healthy eaters.
Yeah,
what I object to is the oversharers of the fly community. They're noisy. Oh,
yeah, I don't like that. I don't like. Of course, they all bring excrement into the house.
Good point.
But
Lovely. I tell you what, though, lovely
think
pair
that's-
of pins. Very skinny legs, the flies.
well, that's what my manager's dad told me.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
Yes, we were. Welcome back. Did you see it had a message about flies?
Yeah, we were talking about flies, Frank, and we've had some missives in from our readers regarding flies. At Brom Driver contacted us on Instagram to say Flying Ant Day in Handsworth today, and also East Germany Online got in touch. He's called Dr. Richard Millington, and he sent us a picture of a fly in Liverpool, flying ant, saying this one seems to have left its wing at home. People generally want to know, is it still on this year, or are they doing it behind closed doors?
Well,
That's Steve Burgess.
I haven't seen any flying ants this year.
I think we've missed it.
That's
it's been and
terrible. We
gone.
missed it in lockdown. Well, it sounds like if it's happened in Handsworth, it's probably happened nationwide, I would have thought.
Yeah, I think.
Do you remember that time I mentioned it on Graham Norton's show?
No.
I mentioned there was me, James McAvoy. Who's the other guy? He's got like a German name.
Fassbender.
Is it Zach Braff?
No. Sorry?
Fassbender.
Is it Zach Braff? Oh, Michael
No,
Fassbender.
don't be ridiculous. Neither of those. Ends
it was
in man
Fassbender.
or something like that.
Okay.
Anyway, one of those actors that gets awards for what they do in the gym rather than what they do in the rehearsal studio.
Oh, okay.
Do you know the kinds I mean?
Yes.
Anyway, they were, and I think Marion Cotillard was on as well.
Yes.
And I brought up Flying Ant Day, and they were all going, what are you talking about? No idea what you're talking about. And Graham Norton, who surely is close enough to humanity to still remember it, said, no, I don't. He said all that. And I felt really singled out, made to be an outsider for something that which is a natural phenomenon, which is spoken of many times on here. And I said something like, perhaps they don't go, dare go into celebrity areas. And Graham Norton said, come on, we don't any of that. Like, that was the one thing that wasn't allowed on the show. And I've never been booked on there since. So that's the end of that.
Is that right?
Yeah.
It's a surprise career-ending remark.
It is, isn't it? You cannot never, maybe it was, I don't know, Marion Cotillard, never bring up Flying Ant Day after that incident.
Can I just say, I can exclusively reveal, having checked this while you two gentlemen were having your cigars, I can exclusively reveal that the guests on that episode were James McAvoy, Frank Skinner, Marion Cotillard, and Michael Fassbender.
There you go.
I knew it.
You said it, Al.
You were right.
Al called
you were
it.
right. I can't even remember him. Is he still working?
He never
Is he?
stopped.
What's he in?
He's not.
never
He's just been cancelled. He
stops.
mentioned Flying Ant Day on Radio 2 this morning.
Well.
Oh.
Yes. Was that before Flying Ant had apologised? Anyway, I was made to feel like some ridiculous outsider. It was awful. It was awful. It wasn't. I was punished for their ignorance, and isn't that a thing that happens more and more in the modern world?
Yeah.
And
Only you could construct a narrative where you'd been banned from the Graham Norton show as a result of you discussing Flying Ant Day.
Well, I'm not saying that's why I was banned. It might have just been that I'm rubbish, but it really was. It left a sour taste in my mouth, I must say, and that makes me happy that our readers are still acknowledging that it exists, because those who ignore history are condemned to relive it.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We were talking before that about when Fassbender, McAvoy, Cotillard and Norton conspired against me and pretended there was no such thing as Flying Ant Day.
You've made them sound like a sort of like criminal fraternity.
The Big Four.
It was like that. It was like the McCarthy witch hunt. And I think now, looking back, at least one of them knew, was perfectly aware of flying ant day, absolutely, and just thought, no, I'm not going to speak up.
Just to be clear, this is you calling out 4 celebrities for a lie that you think they told about 3 years ago or something.
Yeah. They made me look, though. The fact that I knew more than them,
Yeah.
I mean, as if that wasn't obvious before we even arrived.
It's ironic that it's this subject that you've got a real bee in your bonnet about.
Oh. Well, it's certainly up the ante on that performance.
Oh.
Yes. So anyway, I've never cared for any of them since.
Wow.
It was unnecessary. They could have. What I would have done is, I've never heard of that. Tell us more. I'd like to learn.
Yeah.
It's important to be learning all the time. Not I haven't heard of it, therefore it can't be of any worth or meaning.
Well, the good thing is you were really able to put it behind you and move on in a healthy
yeah,
way.
exactly. A lot of people would have let it fester. Not Frank.
Let it Uncle Fester.
It might have been. I was interviewed on there, and there was 2. Now I come to think of it, there was 2 Irish rowing brothers.
I remember
remember
this. I remember this.
Yeah, and I told the story, and they went, that was a pretty terrible story, or something like that.
I'll tell you exactly
And,
what they said. They said, "Cool story, bro."
Oh, is that what they said?
And I thought, really, is Man But This a meme? I mean, come on.
It was. It was. I hate the whole thing. I hope the show goes down the toilet. Now I come to think of it.
You can't say.
Anyway,
Frank's
I'm not
manager
saying it
deciding to
hasn't.
go back into
Don't get me wrong.
geneticism.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it hasn't. I'm saying. Let me talk about.
Happening?
Can I talk about a TV show which I care for?
Oh, God.
I have you ever seen Teen Titans Go?
No.
Let me just have a think. Absolutely not.
You know what? But don't do a flying ant day on me. Don't dismiss it. It's actually I watch it. It's one of the few things I will miss about homeschooling. And in lunchtime, Buzz watches 3 or 4 episodes of Teen Titans Go. We got a big, heavy record backstory of theirs. And it's about Teen Titans, which is a sort of a superhero group along the lines of Avengers and stuff, but they're teenagers. But it's actually, can I recommend it to you guys? Let me give you just an example.
You can try.
Okay. One of the things they were talking about the other day on there was something I'd never really thought of. It was overbite dancing.
Oh, yes, I know.
And when people dance and they look like they're concentrating a bit too much and they sort of do the overbite.
Yes.
And they had a whole episode about that. And I thought that was a fabulously inventive, interesting, original thing to be talking about. What about that? Reminds me when I danced with a woman once and she said to me, "You don't really dance to the music, do you? Dance to the words?" Oh!
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I'm loath to let the Teen Titans Go theme disappear right before I've told you a few other things. And one of the things that they did, one of the episodes, was about montages.
Oh, yeah.
And it was about those things in films and television programmes when someone, say, has to get really fit. The famous one being in Rocky. And you get like a 40-second montage of them eating raw eggs, doing press-ups, running up steps. Yeah. And they tried to do it in the programme. They did it. They had to fight this martial arts villain, and so they did a montage of them practicing.
Can I just say I'm in now on Teen Titans Go?
Yeah.
I'm up for it.
And then they lost. They got a real whooping. And Robin, the boy wonder, had to say to them, the thing is, you see, life's not like that. You can't learn in a montage. You have to put lots of long, hard work in over a long period of time.
Philosophical. I like this.
He said montage thinking, that's let us down here. And I thought, God, that's a good point.
Montage thinking.
Can I tell you one more?
Sure.
Can I tell you one more? There was an episode about when Richard Nixon took the USA off the gold standard.
What? In Teen Titans.
In Teen Titans. It's one of those. The great thing about those shows, it's a bit like this show, I suppose. If you're a bit tucked away and not noticed by the majority, you can go where you like.
I love some of their coverage. I like
Can I do one more?
Yeah,
the one when Robin suggested that the Teen Titans as a whole got involved in rental property investment.
Really?
Al.
Sorry. Anyway, sorry.
Al, do you like that Frank's trying to adopt the Friends vernacular, the shared experience of the one where?
Yeah.
With Teen
Yes.
Titans, as if everyone else was going to say, "Oh, I love that one." Yeah.
Well, it makes a change from Seinfeld or The Simpsons or
I like those.
Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yes.
It's
All
like
good.
that Curb Your Enthusiasm where.
Can I just
Is
point
it
out,
like that?
while you're on the subject of the montage, the
Yeah.
equivalent of the female makeover, which I regret to say is largely sort of makeup, hair and clothes related. However, that is a similar, the sort of speeded up time frame, or is going into the changing room with the friend shaking her head and then nodding at the successful outfit choice, and usually done to Uptown Girl will often be the music. Sometimes I
Yeah.
feel good,
Yeah.
you choose.
Why don't we put out there the question, what is your favourite film montage sequence? E.g., Rocky gets fit in Rocky 1.
Yes.
And see, because there must be loads of others. It's in the same school. Do you remember the days of the spinning newspaper that used to settle on a headline?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that. I'd love to be reminded of some others. So let's put that out there. We're able to. Don't text us because we're not live, but we're able to hear you on Instagram and Twitter and email. We probably you won't be able to do it on email. Twitter and Instagram. You know the big two,
Yeah.
as I like to call it. Are they the big two? Would you say of the socials?
Twitter and Instagram. What would you say, Al?
I think they probably are, but
What's
I've
happened to
never...
Facebook? Has that gone down a bit?
Oh no, that Facebook's. I think that's the sort of more pensioners. I think.
Oh, I might check that out. They call it leather shopping bag. Yeah.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Have we had outside world activity this week?
Well, we have actually. It's interesting that you bring up watching a television show with Buzz while you were homeschooling, because you last week, I think it was, discussed taking Buzz's teddy up to your office with you. Ben, is the teddy bear?
It is, yeah. I became. Don't get me wrong. I'm not disturbed, but I just there was a tiny hint for me that he might have been lonely because Buzz had gone back to school. And I know he's a teddy bear and all that entails, but I thought I'm just going to err on the side of safety, and I took him. In fact, he's at my side. He's literally at my side now as we speak.
Well, Texter 737 has indulged in a little bit of armchair psychiatry on you here.
Okay.
He says, or she, Frank, taking Ben whilst you were working was a Buzz substitute. You were missing your son.
Oh, well, that's a nice way. That makes me sound less strange.
And can I just say, whilst we're on the subject, that last week when we discussed education, I made a glib comment that state school teachers didn't want to teach children. And I have heard from some of the hard-working teachers of the United Kingdom who are either not able to take light-hearted comments on the radio or are working very hard, and they were not happy with me.
I think they're all right as long as you share it with everyone else.
This is
Well,
like
that the
Dominic
general-
Cummings in the Rose Garden, the official apology.
Did you
The
actually get
hard-working
contacted?
teachers of this country, there's 4. They were really annoyed with me. That's 4 of them.
Can I
mate.
say I was a teacher, sort of, for a couple of years. I taught over 16s. I would say it's the hardest job I've ever done.
Well, right now it'd be the hardest job you weren't doing, wouldn't it?
What about don't ask me?
It's not letting him go, Al. I'm trying to lead him out. No, he's broken free from my grip. You know, when there's a fight, you drag someone away and they break loose and go and throw another couple of punches.
I mean, they've got the time to message me about it. But...
Wow.
Belligerent, that's the word. Absolutely belligerent.
Frank, you did your best, mate. You did your best. We've got some other...
people... I asked if people could knock a nail into a teddy bear's face and think nothing of it. Did we get any response to that?
Oh, we did, Al, didn't we?
Another of your wide appeal text-ins.
Yeah.
We had Andrew Key, who says, and you might need to pour yourself a stiff drink for this, teddy bears are the biggest germ-carrying items. Not only would I nail them, I'd incinerate them with a blow lamp too.
Okay.
Wow.
Which makes my comments seem quite light, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, my partner, Kath, is always saying that Ben carries a thing called staph. Have you ever heard of that?
It's a staph infection, STI.
Yeah, it's highly infectious, which makes mockery of the saying you can't get the staph. Apparently, you can get it quite easily. And she always, she's got a bit on her nose, she claims, and she's said she got that from Ben, from being forced to hug Ben goodnight. So maybe there used to be parrots that used to... That's it. Who's in the carries a lot of diseases chair at the moment?
Yes.
Teddy bears used to be parrots.
And
They
the
always
rats.
used to say.
Rats are pretty firm in that chair, would you say?
I would say parrots were settled in there. They used to say parrots carried something like, and then there would be a figure like 137 diseases or stuff like that.
Okay.
That's why a lot of pirates had one eye. It was conjunctivitis was one of the things that they carried. And I don't know why, being parrots, they didn't call out a warning. That's the thing. It was absolutely wanton.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
Hello, this is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. Please don't text us today. We ain't here, if you know what I mean. But you can contact us on Instagram and Twitter at Frank on the Radio, or you can email us via the Absolute Radio website. So contact is still possible, but don't text. It's bad.
As an EG of the calibre of contact that we get, last week we heard from somebody who had crucified a teddy bear, didn't we?
Yes.
And we also received a message, which I think is a witty remark, from @OnionBurgie. Surely the name of the teddy nailed to the cross should be Barabbas.
Oh, that is good.
Lovely.
I thought that would tick
good.
some boxes for you.
But he was released, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, can you believe that? That'd be a good montage. What happened next with Barabbas? It starts with Barabbas sitting in prison and a bloke coming in and Barabbas looking, what gobstruck expression. And then Barabbas leaving town on donkey with like crucifixion in background that he doesn't even notice. Then Barabbas arrives in Newtown and sees a job for children's entertainers, let's say, and then you see him dressed as a camel dancing in front of children.
That's good.
And that's how he became a big star. Okay,
I'd like to see a montage of you, Frank, sort of what I call evolving into what I like to think of as Frank 2.0.
right.
The more poetry podcast, Frank Skinner. As opposed to the football, not that there's not a place for football in your current life, but you know what I mean, your brand. And I see this montage as you possibly looking wistfully at a stack of FHMs and throwing them in the trash can.
Yes.
Yes?
And then reaching for the complete Wordsworth.
And then taking down a picture, not that, again, you would have done this, but the brand of you would have had a picture of a lady perhaps on the wall.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
And you
Yeah.
would have taken that off and
Linda
replaced it with a
Lusardi.
picture of James Joyce or something. That's how I see it.
Yes, I guess there's an element of that, certainly. The thing is that those pictures were never really on the wall, but, I know
Well,
what you
that's
mean.
what
They
I
were
mean, but
they were on
we're
the wall of
talking-
my brand.
We're talking about the
Yeah.
perception of Frank Skinner, which
I
was,
did used to have a picture
incorrect,
of...
may I say.
I had a picture of Kathy Lloyd on my wall, but only because I was in the photo with her, and I was being... now, what was the name of that country and western, female country and west? K.D. Lang.
Very good.
K.D. Lang did a picture with a famous model in which she was shaved in a barber's chair.
Yes.
And I recreated that for the News of the World with Kathy Lloyd, the popular Page 3. Well, they were all popular, let's face it.
Yeah.
I had that on my wall with me as K.D. Lang. So there's so many complications in that image. We can't dwell on it now, obviously. She did a very good version of Crying. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes, she did.
Not as good as the Big O. But nothing's as good as the Big O. I've always said that.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, maybe the brand isn't that far off the... I'll tell you, speaking of the brand, I've been watching a bit of football
Oh, yeah.
this week.
Whatever happened to?
Yes.
And you know what? I don't miss the crowd thing. I don't really notice the crowd aren't there.
No.
Oh, really?
I realise now, maybe it's time to get rid of the crowd thing. It's a bit of an old-fashioned concept, and just have paid subscriptions.
Okay.
Clubs will be moving to smaller grounds. Can you imagine that?
Look
Have you
forward
got
to
the thing where
responses.
you can hear a version of them, though?
I've
Yes,
got a
you
thing.
press the button.
I've got the video. My season ticket means I can watch them all online.
But do you press the button where you hear a fake crowd? Is that what you're doing?
I don't
I
do
don't.
that.
I don't do that. No.
Do you do
I
that,
find
Al? I don't.
I
No,
find
haven't
at the
watched any of it, but
with the Hawthorns, I find it's a bit louder now than it is at a lot of the games. But,
And so say all of us in North London.
so you could get rid of hooliganism, football traffic, no fat blokes urinating on the hard shoulder. And just have everyone just pay subscription and watching at home on their devices. I find it completely thrilling, I must say. I think it could be the future. Let me know what you think.
Don't.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Now, in the old days, before what I'm now calling the global pandemic, there was we used to have lots of jingles and stuff. They probably are still available, but nobody could be bothered to supply me with them. And so and we have to do... I've only got one, and it's basically Dandy Livingstone, Susan Beware of the Devil. So this is the email corner jingle. Oh, Susan Beware of the Devil, don't let him spoil your heart. There you go. We've got any emails?
We've heard from Sue Mackerel. Hello, Sue.
The sky's the limit.
She has this to say with regard to malted milk biscuits, which were heavily discussed on last week's show.
Yes, in case you don't, just a brief resume. The malted milk biscuit is the one with sort of a relief of cattle in a field on it. Okay.
Exactly. Hi, Frank, Emily and Alan. Just been listening to Saturday's podcast and heard you discussing malted milk biscuits. My brother's claim to fame is that one of his first projects after leaving university was to make the cow on the malted milk biscuits stand out more and be clearer to see. I think he did this rather well and heard Frank say if it wasn't for the malted milk biscuit, we wouldn't have 3D films today. I'll pass
Indeed.
this on to said brother to enhance his claim to fame even further. Thank you, Sue Mackerel.
What do you imagine his job was that he was called in to enhance the malted milk cow? As a
cow
graphic
enhancer.
artist?
I
Yeah,
would
cow
say,
enhancer would be a great one.
He didn't get a lot of calls, but when he did, he knew what he was going to have to do.
When he did, he was he was there. Like there weren't many people in the waiting room when he turned up for the interview. Let's put it that way.
He could have called himself a relief worker. That would have been absolutely
that's
accurate.
very fine. Very fine.
Very good.
He could have been working in genetics or something.
Maybe.
Maybe he worked on the actual original model, and then the artist came in and did it that way and enhanced the original cow. We'll never know, but I'm grateful to him. I'm guessing that he took it from low relief to high relief then, to use artistic terminology.
Yeah.
Well, we had that.
That is a great claim to fame.
We had that message about malted milk biscuits, and here's another one. Another one.
Oh, an order. What? Sorry, I thought, is he all right? He's gone quiet. Has he fallen?
I was just
you were
doing
waiting.
quite a laboured pun.
I still
Quite
think,
right to wait. It was worth waiting for.
I still think, is he all right? Continue.
Jedi Like a Boss, a.k.a. Paul Carter, has tweeted us on the subject of malted milk biscuits discussed in the last show. I found this picture floating around on the internet in reference to Frank's mention of a milk churn featuring in the biscuit design. Granted, this is an enamel pin badge, but it lends credence to the myth. And he sent a photograph of what looks like several little kind of gold enamel malted milk badges.
Wow.
It's a great thing.
I didn't know there was an industry. There's malted milk merch.
There seems to be. It's easy for you to say.
Yeah. That's. I'm going to check it. When this record ends, I shall go to eBay and see what other malted milk stuff they've got. What I would like is a large, size of a wall, picture of the field where you can put your face through the hole, so that me and my family can be the malted milk cattle.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
We still resideth in email corner, I believe.
We do.
Yes?
And I
Okay,
have an
yes.
email from, I think, a week or so ago. Sometimes we've got a backlog. Don't get angry about it, guys. Hi, Frank and the team. I've discovered your podcasts and I'm working through them in reverse order. Interesting. We're all getting younger in this guy's head. On the subject of reversing, here's something you don't see anymore. Men reversing their car with the door slightly ajar, their head lolling sideways and twisted to the right, holding onto the handle to balance. Damn those parking sensors and their multi-mirrored modern vehicles. As a nation, we are gradually losing the skills that made this country amusing.
I love
Good
that. That's
ending.
John.
I
Thank
agree.
you, John.
Ending.
It's a very strong
oh God,
point.
it's going a bit right wing this, and then it made this country amusing. Love it. I'd forgot about that. The door slightly ajar. Can I honestly say I've never done that? I've never had the confidence or the skill to do that. My reversing is I dread reversing. I will drive round and round to avoid it. I can do a 3-point turn, but like when people go down a road at some speed, reversing without hitting any other traffic, I think that's remarkable.
I know, but I find the noise very satisfying.
Of reversing.
It's like rewinding life. I enjoy that.
The only time I've been good at it is I learned to drive in a Triumph Toledo.
Okay.
And there was a watermark on the back windscreen. And if I got that watermark lined up with the curb, I could reverse very successessy. But
that's
never been. Once that car's gone, the chances of that car not being in cube form in a scrapyard is.
Well, I
I
learned
suppose
to
it's-
drive on one of those London to Brighton vehicles you sometimes see.
What about a vintage car?
No, I didn't. But, my age would indicate that. And I have to say, because I think we might have discussed this before, but with the emergency stop...
We've been on
the youth
11 years. Don't beat yourself up. How many
Which the-
people have you known for 11 years who haven't said something to you that they have... It is a topic that they have discussed before. That's just
Yes.
life.
Yes, you're right, Frank.
It's the 10-year cycle.
The emergency stop, which they no longer do, I believe, because I think is this because it's considered violent? You know, they would bang the windscreen, wouldn't they? The instructor.
It can't be. Please
test
tell me
examiner.
it isn't that.
Do you think it is that, Alan? This sounds like your area.
It's an anti-violence stance that they. God.
Well, everything's violence now, isn't it?
Well, they used to. It used to be an A to Z across the the dashboard, and I don't know what you'd use now. There's no real legitimate.
I think.
There's no. Do they even have a? I bet they have a device now, don't they? Some sort of device.
They'll use a smartphone case, something like that. These modern ones.
Oh no!
No.
They won't even have a packet of fags they can bang down or anything. I mean, for goodness, I wonder they've stopped it. I wonder if they stopped the emergency stop really suddenly. In that it was in one test and then bang, it wasn't in the next test. And it was really like that. It stopped at a tremendous screech. I remember it's one of the few things I got right on my first test. I didn't get I didn't get the one right when the pedestrian was on the zebra crossing. That was the emergency stop I missed.
Frank Skinner.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
We were discussing the end of the emergency stop of all things. I didn't know that had gone.
Well, I thought it had, and during our coffee break, I've discovered that what appears to happen now is that if you're asked to complete an emergency stop in the current driving test, the examiner will raise their hand and call out, "Stop!" And then you complete the stop. But
so they still do it?
Physical. They still do it, but there's no physical contact with... there's no banging noise.
Okay, well, fair enough. I suppose that the health and safety, you could startle someone with the banging.
Oh, imagine if you were startled.
But I've got to be honest, if I was driving along and someone in the car raised their hand and shouted stop, I'd still be a little uneasy. It wouldn't be the first. I've never been in a moving car where anyone's done that.
Oh, dear. Yes, although you have. I'm sure you've done this, Frank, because I've done it, and Alan, which is when you feel you're having to brake fairly suddenly to avoid some sort of potential catastrophe or avert an incident, always reach across with the hand to protect the passenger. Which I always assumed was was me being a very empathetic person, but apparently this is some weird physical instinct, isn't it?
I've never done that.
Have you not?
Really?
What does that tell you? No, that's
Psychopath.
surprising, but that's
Is that
interesting.
psychopath test?
I was told in this thing when I used to drink in pubs, like proper pubs, not pubs with loud house music playing and beautiful people, but pubs with a jukebox and old blokes in it. And people talked a lot about driving, and one of the things they used to say is to stab with staccato thrusts at the brake pedal, and that stops the car faster if it's a genuine emergency stop. You ever heard of that?
Really?
No, I haven't.
Check it out.
I'm just glad you added the brake pedal bit.
They always used to say, also, if you listen to the revs very closely, you don't need to use the clutch when changing gear. You can hear the moment where you can just move the gear stick and it'll just go smoothly in anyway. Try it.
The problem with trying that to get good enough at it,
don't try it in a dangerous situation.
You're have to hear that horrible noise of gears not changing properly. So your teeth will just be really gang, 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 gang.
The removal of synchromesh, that's what it used to be, wasn't it?
I guess it is, yeah.
I think it is.
Sorry to interrupt Jeremy and Richard, but do you think we could maybe go on to another topic?
Yeah, do it. What about another email while we're still in the corner?
Okay. I enjoyed feeling like James May at that point.
Do you know James May? No, but thanks for the tip. Okay.
Yes, we have. Do you remember we were discussing mnemonics on the show not long
yes.
ago?
Yes.
We've had this missive in from Jen, who says, "Good evening, Frank, Emily and Alan. I say evening because I'm listening to your podcast on a Saturday night. I've been a listener
Late
for a
night
long
podcast.
Yeah. I've been a listener for a long time, but this is the first time I've been in touch. Re-mnemonics, one I've remembered since school is never eat cheese, eat sausage sandwiches, and remain young. It spells, who's going to be first? Never eat cheese, eat sausage. Thank you, Alan.
Oh, necessary.
I still
That's
have it
not
in
a
my
bad
head
one,
every
actually.
time I write that word.
Because necessary is quite a tricky one.
Okay.
I was complaining
always-
that my dad had one for contents, which is not a hard word to spell, but necessary, I think that deserves a mnemonic.
I always
Well,
remember
that.
necessary as one collar and two sleeves. So that's the C and the double S.
But how do you remember that it's not two collars and one sleeve? Oh,
Because that's
because
what
it's
a
based
shirt
on
has.
it's based on the shirt, the shirt template.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fiendish, absolutely fiendish.
Frank Skinner. Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
Now, one of the things we are doing nowadays is putting out stuff on Twitter and Instagram. So, although we are not live, we can get some sense of our readership speaking to us, because I miss them. I'm not joking. I miss their regular contact on the show so much. What's on SM?
I beg your
Social
pardon?
media. Social media. in
Oh,
Britain.
okay.
Social media.
Okay, I don't know which aspect of your life we're currently wading through.
Yeah.
I miss the ampersand.
We've had so many, Frank. Just to
Yeah.
mention a few as we go.
What I asked was, we were talking about montages in films when things happen. So Rocky is a fat, out of condition bloke who does part-time work at a meat packing factory. And then we watch him in 40 seconds, or however long that montage is, to the tune of dun 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 dun. And he eats raw eggs and runs up steps and becomes world champion fitness athlete. Okay. So we're talking about that. And I asked if anyone's got any favourite, much loved film montages.
Yes. We've had so many. We've had Adam Disney, who's pointed out
He'd know.
Karate Kid 1, the tournament rounds montage, you're the best around.
Oh, yeah.
Simon
Oh,
Quinn,
God, I forgot that.
Notting
Yeah.
Hill, When Ain't No Sunshine When She's Gone, plays as Hugh Grant's character walks through the full 4 seasons. Yes, I remember that.
Oh,
Oh, I've not seen
And,
that.
uh,
I've
That's
never
not a
seen.
spoiler.
I've never seen them.
Oh,
I don't know if I've ever seen a Richard Curtis film.
wow.
Oh.
We've
They're
also
good.
had Nikki Hall has pointed out the famous, one of the most famous sort of transformation montages. Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman saying to the snooty salesgirl how much commission she's missed out on by being rude to her on a prior occasion. Now she's got money. I believe she says, big mistake, huge. And then we have Aidan Greenaway, who says Step Brothers, when Brennan and Dale realise they're best friends, cue martial arts, night vision goggles, wolf lamps, etc.
I've never seen that, but I like the sound of it.
Yeah, that does sound good.
That's bonding, is it? The
I
old
wonder if
vision,
it's
night
on
vision.
demand.
Oh,
So
that's what
rude,
people
isn't it?
think,
On television on demand.
We should
Don't
say,
ask anymore.
Chris Bracegirdle, thanks for the tip, has pointed out that Team America owned the montage, no longer possible to even pull one off now.
Good point.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
which is true. Yeah.
Well, I'd say Teen Titans have made it their own, but you know.
You love Teen
We're
Titans.
all, I do. I love Teen Titans. It's you know, there aren't that many. I think most of the real inventiveness and originality and experimentation that's going on television now is going on children's television with things like
I'm gonna
Gravity
watch
Falls,
Teen Titans,
World. Amazing World of Gumball. That's so really they are so inventive and incredible programs. Anyway, that's enough about that.
I've been watching Merlin partly because of you and partly because of my
Come
daughter.
on.
And I had a classic moment the other day of being a guy who actually went to drama school and trained as an actor. I was watching Merlin and I said to my kids, "Oh, I know him." About one of the people in it.
Well, Boz asked me the other day, he said, how many people have you met that are in the Harry Potter films? And I said, I can't think of many.
good
And then
question.
I listed about 30. Once I actually started, I worked with many of them.
You've worked with them all.
But I've only met one of the big three.
Oh, yeah.
I've only met Grinto. I haven't met the other two. So he's the one I want to meet, of course. I'm, pro ginger.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
Hello, this is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. You can't text the show today because in a sense, we don't exist. But you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio, or you can email us via the Absolute Radio website. I've had to move Ben, my co-host today, who is Bozzy's teddy bear, who I've brought along to my room because I actually seriously have a slight anxiety that he'll get lonely on his own downstairs.
Oh.
If I have Ben on my lap, I get so hot. I don't know I don't know if it's the staff he carries. If you weren't listening earlier, he's not a shepherd. It's an infection.
No.
But he generates heat. He really is. Maybe all bears do. I don't know.
You very
What's the name of
kindly.
that film where the bloke's killed by a bear at the end?
Oh.
The
Documentary.
Spoiler alert, but it's called Grizzly Man, I think.
Grizzly Man, yeah. Horrible.
Yeah.
And
No
the
point watching it
director-
now. Frank's just told you the last 3 minutes of it.
Yeah. The famous director, whose name escapes me at the moment, gives the tape of the terrible ending, an audio tape to, I think, his mother or girlfriend, and says, here's that, never listen to it. I thought, whoa, it's the most gothic novel thing I've ever heard. Never open that door. I bet she listened to it. You know what it's like. You've had a drink. Get the cassette out.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah. Get the cassette out. Come on, let's have a listen. He said, no, listen to it. Never mind what he said. Get the tape on. I think they were from West Bromwich, the family.
Yeah.
Big bear problem up that way.
Big bear problem. Can you see that from here? That's like that book, The Long Firm. I spent the first 5 minutes trying to find the end of the title.
Why hasn't Bear Grylls done a podcast just called Bear Grylls?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, which he interviews people.
It's not often that your name works perfectly just for the title. It tells the story.
Bear Grylls, yeah.
You might want to, or cooking show, Frank. You know, he's got all sorts of
Or
options.
I'll cook it, but Bear
Yes.
Grylls, I think it's cleverer, the interviewing, isn't he?
I think so.
Could he interview? I don't really know Bear Grylls' work. Is he capable of doing an interview?
Well, what I do,
Or
if
is
I
it
was,
all, is it all like polythene over a hole in the floor to create
lot of
moisture? A lot of
that's
that. I
your
don't know.
apartment.
I don't
If it was
care for
me, I'd suggest a studio environment where there was a light shining on him as a sort of FBI interrogation, in keeping with the
perfect.
Grills theme. Just an idea.
that. It's absolutely perfect. It will happen because he's the sort of, he's hot, isn't he, at the moment, I think. Or is that George Foreman Grills?
There we go.
Oh, dear. So,
Can I ask you both something?
yes.
Did you happen to see the most beautiful girl? No, Tony
Yes,
Blair.
and she was crying.
It's a shame. Tony Blair gave an interview this week. I'm not sure if you saw it. It was in the Sunday Times, and within it, he made the revelation, and it went slightly viral because he admitted he hadn't done any housework, cooked a meal, or washed his own clothes since 1997. Respect. That was
Yeah.
another party. Apologies, but
It's one of the few times that I've read the Times long interview and said snap out loud, because I'm exactly the same. Not washed
Well, it's
any of it.
interesting.
Frank Skinner.
Well, I can think of 3 occasions when I've said result in reference to Tony Blair, but never with more conviction than I did when I read this story.
Yes, he's
I
also.
mean,
He
You'd
also
think-
admitted, guys, just so we have the full charge sheet in front of you, he hasn't done a grocery shop, driven a car. I mean, there was all sorts of things.
He's one of them male chauvinist pigs, eh? Is he one of them male chauvinist pigs? He's one of them, eh? Sorry, my whole self seems to be breaking through from the inside like a baby bird emerging from an egg. I'll fight it. Don't worry. Those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, I'll fight it.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We were discussing the male chauvinist pig Tony Blair.
Tony Blair, Blair.
Blair. To be fair to Blair, I don't. I think
How
it's
is your
only
poetry
during.
podcast?
Yeah, it's only Hair Blair as they call him in Germany.
Yeah,
They
Herr
call his
Blair
family
Bunch.
the hair. They call him the Hair Blair Bunch.
Very good.
It's only during lockdown, I think, that Sherry, is it Sherry or Cherie, Blair?
Cherie, I think.
Cherie.
That Cherie has been doing the housework. I think normally they have serving folk
Yes.
who do it for them, which is it's not so bad as if someone's being paid for it.
Yeah.
Cherie's too busy to do it regularly.
Oh, yeah.
She's one of them do-gooders. Yeah. Them do-gooders who always, busybodies. Yes, apparently.
For normal people, that's a QC, okay?
Yeah.
Can I tell you?
Can I do a character called Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Smethwick? In which I keep turning back into my old black country self.
And much like the Hulk, as we previously discussed on this show, with the frayed jean bottoms,
Yeah.
I like to see you with a sort of a football shirt would start creeping out of under the top of your nice John Smedley silk mix jumpers.
Is it stonewashed jeans?
So,
Yeah.
and England supporter 3/4 length. Your trousers would all be chopped off.
I never did that. Never did that.
Did you notice Cherie during this interview, if you read it, she sort of stuck her head round the door mid-interview in a sort of comic sidekick way.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, if he tells you he does housework, he's definitely lying.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
But she also said, she did a
He
follow-up interview.
went mad at her after.
Do you think so?
Well,
I don't think she'd thought of it until she read all the comments about any story that had Tony Blair in it. And, people call him Tony B. Liar.
Oh, yeah.
They deliberately
Blair.
misspell it.
Oh, yeah, Blair.
Yeah.
Get it?
I mean, my surname's Cochrane, so it's probably for the best I don't go into politics.
No, I should lay off that.
Yeah.
I had quite a big row with Tony Blair once.
Did you?
Did you?
I was
You
at
didn't.
yeah.
Worked with them all, haven't you?
It was weird because
No,
it
what you
started
mean,
off-
Al, is he's rowed with them all.
It started off as quite genial, and then because I interviewed him on my when I had a chat show in the old Normal, I liked him a lot, and then I got invited to a charity event at Number 10 by Cherie, I think, because there's one of them do-gooders. And
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Smethwick alert, everyone.
and we were talking about like comedy in general, me and Tony Blair, and he said, "Oh, I had Brian Ricks here last week for a charity thing." I said, "He's dead." He said, "No, he's here last week." I said, "He's been dead about 3 years." He said, "No, he was here." I said, "I'm sorry, but you're completely right. It must have been his son. His son writes kids' books, but he's probably..." He said, It was bright. He said it wasn't his, and it really got like we were both getting quite. I said it's not because you're getting angry. It wasn't him. He's dead, and I don't think there was like. I don't know when mobile phones and that happened, but we didn't Google it or anything like that. Anyway, he was absolutely spot on. It was Brian Ricks. I was completely wrong, and that's why you
how
didn't listen to
embarrassing.
me about the Iraq War. I think.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you get wrong once and people think you're wrong every time.
I mean,
Huge.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We were talking about Blairo, Lily Blairo, Bull and a Law. The thing is that Tony Blair says he hasn't done any housework really of any description since 97. The thing about him not driving, I think I told you once, I was at a test match talking to John Major, the former Prime Minister.
Oh, what row did you have with him?
No, I don't think we had a row, actually. And there was two blokes standing at the back with the curly wires on their ears. They were his security blokes.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
And I said to him, must be great having security blokes. And he said, yeah. He said, well, I always think if I get rid of them, somebody will, like, shoot me the next day. I said, yeah, I can see that. And I said, if it was me, I'd get myself a nice Rolex and go through a stroll through really rough areas in the early hours. If you're going to get bodyguard, I mean, just the joy of it. Imagine. I mean, I know it's different for you, Al, but because no one's going to take you down. But for a man like myself, to be able to walk around and not think someone could appear at any moment and hack me down is a lovely thought. Yeah. So I'm guessing that Blair's he's had to keep. He couldn't get rid of security because there's still a few anti-Blairites about.
I can understand him not having done laundry because he thinks he's too important, but I really don't understand him saying that he's too big to have driven a car since 1997 because the Queen and Prince Philip still drive. Perhaps it's a bad example.
Yeah, I wouldn't use Prince Philip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolute Radio does not condone those sort of driving.
If I offered you, Al, a full-time driver, do you think you'd ever drive again?
Yeah, probably. I think I would.
Why?
And if I lived in a stately home like Tony Blair did and I missed driving, I'd just be doing, I'd drive a go-kart around the grounds or...
Well, he might do that.
Do some, donuts on the lawn or something.
Yeah, and break turns on the gravel.
Yeah, I don't think he's really embracing the possibilities of his life.
I've got to say...
Sorry, Frank.
No, you go first.
I was going to say, as someone who no longer drinks alcohol, I find...
Is that right?
Yeah. It's been...
Since...
I mean, with the greatest respect, it wasn't a necessary choice. It was more of a lifestyle choice. But I would say it's been about a year and a half, 2 years, maybe.
Oh, I didn't realise that. Wow.
Yeah, I've just gone off it. But as someone who it's no longer part of my life, I find it a very handy excuse for the inebriated at parties, and I'm able to resist the pressure. Do you see?
Oh, by saying you're driving.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
And a burly security guard would spoil that.
I mean, he's got... I don't know. I don't think I'd drive for pleasure if there was a man in a uniform. I say a man. I once went to a big fight. I can't remember who was fighting now. But outside was Don King's Rolls Royce.
Oh, yeah.
And there was this incredible blonde woman. If one can talk about just aesthetically, just a strikingly, the sort of cheekbones, it looked like you could slice ham on.
Oh, yeah.
And she had those like Parker wears in Thunderbirds, those double-breasted chauffeur things with the cap. She had one of those on, but all in black leather. And she was like peroxide blonde. Wow. I mean, come on. I know, you got to be careful what you say nowadays, but wow, that was really... No wonder his hair is constantly on end.
Frank Skinner. Absolute Radio.
You were talking just now, Frank, about Don King and his female leather-clad driver, which I love the sound of. I also fondly remember the late Liberace's habit of... He would dress up his partner as his chauffeur. Do you remember this? He would drive on stage in a white sort of, there's a sort of Quality Street military white jacket with gold brocade on it.
I'm wearing one of those.
I wish you were.
That's why we're in home recording studio.
Who would wear? Who could we think of? Freddie Mercury would have worn one.
Yes.
Probably Jacko.
Oh, maybe.
He liked paramilitary look, sort of.
Yeah.
He liked the Quality Street.
Yes. Who
Anyway.
would wear it Sans trousers? Frank Skinner. I actually can't think of anyone else.
Only
So
to
his-
sleep in.
His boyfriend Scott or a partner would drive him on stage in a white Rolls Royce in the full chauffeur's outfit.
Well, he had a fabulous. I went to the. Actually, I was going to another big fight. I was going to Tyson Bruno in Vegas, and I went to the Liberace Museum.
Did
And
you?
there was a London cab in there, which was completely covered in, I don't know what the technical term, but mirror ball. You know, the little tiny
yes, the
square
glitter
mirrors.
ball, yeah.
I don't know it's some sort of, I suppose, a sort of reflective
It's
mosaic.
called a glitter ball, is it? I believe.
Okay, well, so
Maybe.
the whole of the exterior of this London black cab was glitter ball. And apparently what he used to do is when people would be arriving, when his season in Vegas started, people would be arriving, you often like, you had a hardcore like middle-aged women following. He would arrive at the taxi queue, him on his own, driving this mirror ball London cab, and drive 5 of the women, or however many could get in, to his to their hotels. Not to his
Excellent.
hotel, obviously. No one could accuse him of that. To their hotels, yeah.
Do you know,
That was
Frank?
great. Such a great
I
idea.
wish at some point during that process he'd have wound down the window and yelled at a reporter, "I just want to be left in privacy. Leave me alone."
Yeah, exactly.
I like a lot about that story, and I think one of the things that I like the most about it is that you're the kind of guy that doubles up watching the heavyweight championship boxing match with the Liberace Museum.
Yes, it's a fair point.
Who else
Liberace. I don't
drives
know
a
if you've
black
ever,
cab?
I don't know
Stephen
if you've
Fry.
ever
That's the
seen
only one.
Liberace live, but
No.
he's properly funny. Liberace. He was really. He knew. He did know. They don't all know. He knew. What was you say about Stephen Fry? He's got
I
a
was
black
saying,
cab?
what other celebrities drive a black cab? I think
Does
Stephen
Stephen
Fry.
Fry-
He's
does
the only
he?
one I know. Yes,
I think he did, or if he
Yes.
does, I don't know.
I believe it's quite a thing
Oh,
because then
God,
you don't
I
get.
tell you what, I'll get the boss. Can you imagine that? And then, of course, at that time, the Archduke of Prussia. Yeah, all right, mate. Just keep your eyes on the road, and yes, and of course, magenta was the colour of. Oh, for God's sake! What happened to people moaning about the traffic? No, I couldn't cope with that. Awful.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
We were discussing Tony Blair. I tell you what, I read that he runs a think tank, and he's got a consultancy called Tony Blair Institute for Global Change.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, to me, that sounds like retirement. It's another word for retirement, isn't it? Sitting around and just, you know, those jobs when you think, well, what comes out of that? And also, can I ask you a question? A think tank.
Yeah.
It's a strange term when you actually stand back from it. Is it tank because, like fish tank, there is a circularity of argument in which everyone just goes round and round and never, there's
I
no
see.
destination? Or is it tank as in that you power forward, letting no obstacle get in your way? Riding, I love the word, gather round for it, roughshod.
Oh, yeah.
Have a roughshod.
Yeah, but why is it a think tank? And is he getting paid for these things that aren't really things?
Yeah, he's getting paid quite a lot for those things. I think that's one of the
Wow.
problems that people have with him.
Tony Blair Institute for Global Change.
Yeah.
What's he talking about? It reminds me, I met a bloke who said he was worked in this sort of area of, no work, the sort of no work. And he said he was working...
Good friend of yours.
He said he was working on a new model for integrity, I remember he said to me. Imagine that. Would you imagine him with like Airfix in his garage?
I've met plenty of people who seem to do that full time without adding the for integrity aspect of that sentence. But that's another story.
Have we had any more film montages before we reverse out of the car park and head on our way home?
We have. People are very fondly remembering every episode of the A-Team keeps getting mentioned.
I'd forgotten that.
Did that have montages?
Yeah,
the A-Team was in the very midst of my heaviest drinking, so I never really saw that at all.
Well, I'm thinking of one where they were locked in a garage and with a little bit of music and some mental fortitude, they created a tank that fired cabbages at people. I think I'm right in
Wow,
saying.
just from scrap?
Yep, just from stuff that was in the garage with them that the people that had locked them up hadn't had the foresight to think would make a weapon.
I remember that sitcom that Tony Blair was in when he made a think tank from stuff that fired concepts.
Yeah.
Lulu has mentioned Scarface.
Lulu?
Tony getting richer. Getting rich. She's mentioned Tony getting richer. That's often a trope in films, isn't it? The accumulation of wealth is done rather quickly.
Oh, yeah.
It tends to be hard work, though, doesn't it? People studying and having to learn things, which are things
in
that
real
obviously...
life.
Yeah, most people don't do those things. That's where they stop. But the montages make them look like perfectly doable.
Yes, and we have Paul Chappell mentions Ocean's 11, old casino failed robberies, and always a vault heist reveal.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Good fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
And can I end quickly with David Fitzgerald, because I like him.
I've heard
the different shots of the kitchen table in Citizen Kane to convey the shifting tones in the marriage. Oh. Now, that's not quite a montage, David, but I like it, so I'm going to
I like it. Also, we got a table. I'll tell you that next week. What about that for a cliffhanger? Finally got a table. Listen, Sarah Champion is up next, so do listen to her. And next week for Tablegate. So if the good Lord... Thanks for listening today. If the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back again this time next week. Be sensible.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.